Okay, so that's some pretty big news coming out of DC Studios. Alright, movie fans, I'm sure you've heard this news by now because this has won the internet today. James Gunn, the new co-CEO of DC Studios, has revealed a little bit of his 8 to 10 year plan for what he has coming for us. He and Peter Safran. He made the announcement in a video that's now up on YouTube, and I'd say this news is pretty big, so I'ma talk about it here. So first off, he said that this DC universe that he's working on, it's gonna be, the main DC cinematic universe. So everything else that DC is working on, like Joker Folie à Deux, and the Batman Part 2, and everything in other continuities, they're going to officially be labeled DC Elseworlds. Which I'm not gonna lie, I actually really appreciate that. Like, that might as well be the multiverse, Different continuities and realities that don't really have anything to do with the main DC universe that James Gunn is working on. Alright, well, good. And if I'm being honest, Joker Folie à Deux is probably my most anticipated movie of next year. I love everything I've heard about it so far. But anyway, moving on. He then went on to touch on the DC movies that are coming out this year that, were already in production and they're already coming out. Starting with Shazam! Fury of the Gods, which James Gunn actually said will lead right into The Flash, which I know with all the problems that Ezra Miller has gone through, I'm not sure how that movie's gonna do. But James Gunn did say something really interesting regarding this movie. He said it's going to be a hard reset for the DCU, which leads me to believe that this movie is going to do Flashpoint, which in the comics was the hard reset that led to the New 52, the whole reboot thing. So I'm guessing that movie's going to do the same thing for this cinematic universe, which is really clever. Since that's pretty much what's going on here, the DC Extended Universe is undergoing a hard reboot. So The Flash is going to do Flashpoint and reset the DCEU. That's pretty genius. That's like the best way to do it. That being said, there are 2 more movies after that. We got Blue Beetle, which could be the first new title in the DCEU. I know it was already happening, so I'm not sure about that. And then finally, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, which is another problematic movie due to one of the cast members. So again, not sure how that movie's gonna do. Funny thing is though, is that James Gunn did say that Aquaman 2 will lead into the next set of projects. I don't know how that's gonna happen. Like, if The Flash is gonna reset the DCU, then Aquaman, how is that gonna work? Hey, it could happen, I'm not sure how it's gonna happen. So James Gunn said that his new vision for the DC Extended Universe is pretty much gonna take a page out of Marvel's book, which is how you do it, cause, hello, Marvel did it right. They're gonna do it in phases, or I guess they're gonna call them chapters here. Different chapters of the DC Extended Universe. So today, James Gunn revealed a little bit of Chapter 1, which is titled Gods and Monsters. He actually said that this is not all of Chapter 1, although it is 10 titles. How long is this Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters gonna be? How many titles in total is it gonna have? I don't know, but it sounds intriguing. So I'm guessing this DCEU Phase 1 or Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters is gonna start in a couple of years from now in 2025. Which leads me to guess that next year, 2024, is probably gonna be a DC buy year or something. Aside from Joker 2. I don't know. But now let's finally get into these new titles. What do we got coming for us? Alright, so the first thing that James Gunn revealed to us is a title called Creature Commandos. To which I was like, alright, great, something I've never heard of. This is gonna be an animated series on HBO Max with all the episodes written by James Gunn himself. So if I had to guess, this is gonna be like their version of Guardians of the Galaxy or something. Which I thought is what the Suicide Squad was, but nah, I guess it's gonna be this now. Creature Commandos animated series written by James Gunn coming to HBO Max, maybe that could be next year. He said that the voice actors will also play the characters in live action, so that could be cool. Interconnectedness, one of the key things of any cinematic universe. Moving on, the next title he announced is Waller, an HBO Max series starring Amanda Waller, played by Viola Davis, and I'll be honest, I love Viola Davis as Amanda Waller, so this should be awesome. She owns it as that character because she's an asshole in everything she's shown up in, from the first Suicide Squad movie to the next one, to Peacemaker, even in Black Adam, she was a bitch in there too. And I love it, it cracks me up every time. So now for her to have her own series and story, how can I not be excited for that? I also read that this is going to take place between Peacemaker seasons 1 and 2, so alright. James Gunn said that she's going to team up with people from Team Peacemaker, maybe like Economos or something. It's going to be like within that vein of the DCU. Should be really fun. I'm now really looking forward to that. Next up is a pretty big one. This, I guess, is going to be like the big new introduction to James Gunn's DC Extended Universe. The movie Superman Legacy. Yep, Superman's hard reboot. Now again, I will miss Henry Cavill as the Man of Steel. I liked him in that role, but the fact remains, not everybody did. Superman is a really difficult character to write. Because he is damn near indestructible, how do you make that interesting, really? Well, James Gunn is writing this movie, so that's a good start. Obviously, the character's gonna be recast. I'll just say it, I have really high hopes for this one. This is DC's chance to have a really good Superman movie that is well received by most people, for the first time since 1980. James Gunn has a pretty solid batting average when it comes to his writing, so fingers crossed. Alright, after that, James Gunn announced Lanterns. Yeah, finally, after years of trying to get this ball rolling, the Green Lanterns are finally making a cinematic comeback. Well, kind of. It's gonna be a series on HBO Max, and it's gonna center around Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart, who are the two most popular Green Lanterns in DC Comics. Now, I know that a Green Lantern series at HBO Max has been in production for quite some time. It's probably gone through a development hell or two. I am glad that it's finally getting going now, because finally we're getting a Green Lantern mulligan. Since the last time it was given a shot, it wasn't so hot. So really, this will be Green Lantern's redemption. And I liked what James Gunn said about it. It's gonna be like a detective story or something. Could be really cool. And also, I hope the visual effects budget is big for that one too. It's gonna have to look good. So here's hoping for that. Alright, after that, James Gunn touched on another movie. This is The Authority.
Respect my authority!
I hate South Park, but I couldn't help but think of that reference. I really couldn't help myself. But okay, we have The Authority, which is something else I've never heard of before. But James Gunn seemed pretty hyped about this one. He called it a passion project of his. It's a group of superpowered people who take the law into their own hands, I guess. Like, oh, the universe isn't how it should be, but we have the power to change that, so let's just do it ourselves. I don't know, I can't really say a whole lot about it since I don't know that much about it. So I guess we'll see. The next announcement was Paradise Lost. Now this should be pretty cool. I'm guessing this is gonna be like a Wonder Woman prequel series of sorts. It's gonna center around the Amazons of Themyscira, like long in the prehistoric ages or something. From that artwork, it looks like the series is gonna be rated TVMA. James Gunn compared it to Game of Thrones and Westeros. So it's like Game of Thrones, but DC on Themyscira. That sounds awesome to me. Holy shit, yeah, like, I'm looking forward to that big time now. After that, James Gunn touched on a new Batman. The new Batman for this DC universe, and the movie he's going to be introduced in, which is titled The Brave and the Bold, which is a pretty popular Batman title. This is going to touch on Batman and his son, Damian Wayne, who is a Robin. Alright, cool, well that's never been done cinematically before. James Gunn described Damian Wayne as a little assassin who Batman is trying to get in line. That sounds really cool. That's like a new Batman movie that's never been done before. Yeah, I'm totally down for that. And of course, the casting announcement's gonna drive everyone up the wall. Looking forward to that. Yet another new Batman. Bye-bye, Batflick. It's been nice knowing ya. And if I had to guess, The Brave and the Bold's probably gonna be nothing like that animated series. I hope not anyway, because that series is kinda weird. Okay, we're almost done. After that, James Gunn announced a Booster Gold series on HBO Max. Now, this is a hero that people have wanted to see in live action for a while. I've kinda heard of him, but I don't really know the first thing about him. James Gunn describes him as a loser from the far future who comes back to present day to impress everybody. Well, okay, when he puts it like that, that can be relatable. Again, since I don't know a whole lot about this character, I can't really say too much. I guess we'll see what happens with him. Honestly, I don't even know his real name. That's how little I know about him. So, TBD. After that, James Gunn announced a Supergirl movie titled Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. Okay, cool, give us a Supergirl movie. Possibly the very first good one. Since I know that one that came out back in the day was like panned by everybody. I do wonder if this is gonna be the Sasha Calle Supergirl from the upcoming Flash movie. It could be. I guess it's gonna depend on how well she's received as Supergirl. If people end up really loving her character, then she could be cast again. Or if not, then it could be another recast reboot thing. I don't know. All I know is that Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, that could tie in with Superman Legacy. We could have Superman and Supergirl in one connected universe. Cool thing like that. Cool. Also, the fact that James Gunn described the character as more jaded than Superman. Since she wasn't really raised on Earth, she was raised on a chunk of Krypton. She saw everyone she loved die in front of her, you know, with the destruction of Krypton. Maybe she could be like an anti-hero or something. I don't know, probably not. Could make her really interesting though, and that's not a bad thing. This movie could be really awesome. It certainly has the potential for it. And finally, the last title that James Gunn announced is Swamp Thing. This is gonna be a full-on horror movie. Which, holy shit, that sounds awesome. Since I know that DC has been trying to get Swamp Thing off the ground for a while, they did that series that no one liked and was cancelled after one season. But Swamp Thing is really cool. I've seen footage from Injustice 2. He's like a darker version of the Lorax or some shit. He defends plant life, you know, like he's an environmentalist, kind of like Poison Ivy. But just design-wise, yeah, I could totally see that being an awesome horror movie. Like James Wan wanted to do with The Trench, you know? That could also be really awesome. Alright folks, so there we have it. The first 10 titles from James Gunn's vision of his new DC Extended Universe. His and Peter Safran's. I like what I'm seeing so far. I'm seeing a lot of potential. Again, this is DC's chance to really rise from the ashes of the divisive Snyderverse. And I know Snyder fans are still holding to themselves being like, fire James Gunn because this shit's it's not Snyderverse. Look, I love the Snyderverse. I really do. But you know, I've always been one of those roll with the punches kind of moviegoers. The Snyderverse had its day in the sun. In fact, it had a day and a half with the Zack Snyder cut of the Justice League coming out. That was awesome. But it simply wasn't meant to last. Now James Gunn's taken over, and you know what? He's got some credibility behind him. So I'm totally looking forward to seeing what he brings to DC. And now I want to know what you think about it. So James Gunn's big announcement for his vision of the DC Extended Universe, starting with Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters, and the 10 titles he announced with that. What are your thoughts on all this news? And of all these titles, what are you looking forward to the most? And what are you looking forward to the least? Whatever you think, go ahead and leave a comment. And of course, thank you for subscribing. Peace!